Hey, what's up? So today I'm playing this Schecter Banshee Mach 7, and look at this thing, man. I'm loving this guitar. The feel, the sound of it. It comes with a Lundgren M7 stock in the bridge position, which is perfect for me because I've been with Lundgren for a bunch of years already. And yeah, just the quality and the feel of it. It's a killer guitar. I'm really digging it. And so I'm going to plug it into this pedal here. This is a Master Effects Marauder. If you're keen on your amp history, you might recognize this color scheme here. Maybe I'll talk about that after. This pedal's not complicated, but there's a lot that I want to say about it, so this is going to be a long video, but I'll play a clip that I recorded first. So that's the Schecter going into a Maxon OD808 just for a boost, and then into the Marauder, and from there straight into a 2-notes torpedo live with a Celestion Greenback 4x12 speaker cab. And I'll talk more about this after, so stick around. Okay, so I'm gonna just do some knob twisting and a little bit of a playthrough here so you can hear this pedal, but a little backstory first. And so this pedal is based on the Peavey Supreme 160 or Bandit 112 circuits, the blue stripe era. The Supreme 160 was the first amp I ever had. I got my first job when I was a teenager and saved up, and I bought a half stack, and it was a Marshall cab that I still have, a JCM 900 4x12. And it was a Peavey Supreme 160 head, and the thing, it's a solid state amp, first of all. It was louder than anything I'd ever heard in my life. It was 160 watts, and heavier than anything I'd ever lifted in my life too. It was a brutal, thick shell. Thing weighed a ton, like literally almost 100 pounds, I think. And I used it for untold number of gigs and band rehearsals and stuff over many years, and it was an awesome amp. I always loved the sound of that thing. It eventually died on me, and I stupidly threw it away, and I always wished I had kept it. But so fast forward a bunch of years, and Master Effects, when I found them, they were making this Marauder pedal, which is a Marshall Valve State 8100 in a pedal format, the preamp circuit in a pedal. That's an awesome pedal too. But I asked Tim, the owner, if he could make the Peavey, the Supreme 160 or the Bandit 112. They're the same amp, actually, the same circuit, just a different power section. But I asked if he could make that in a pedal, and so he went to work on it, and so that's what this pedal is based off of. So that's why you're seeing these nice little blue stripes there. You know, components change and stuff over the years, so it's of course not exactly, but I mean, I actually do still have a blue stripe Peavey Bandit 112, and I've compared it to this, and it sounds like it's right there. Much quieter, you know, noise floor and stuff, but it's right there for sound. It's awesome. And these amps were so great. They were super underrated. They could do it. They had really clean cleans, and they could do crunch and bluesy tones, and all the way up to just like super saturated, brutal death metal. And actually, you could even dial them in a certain way to make them sound almost like a Boss HM2. And that's actually what I used to do to jam along with Entombed and Dismember tracks and stuff when I was a kid, before I even had an HM2 pedal. So I'll show you that too, but it's got active EQ, so that means this noon position is your 0, and so turning it all the way down is cutting, and turning it up from noon position up is boosting. And I think it's something like a 15 dB boost each way or something, or a boost and a cut. And so it's a huge amount of tonal variety that you can get out of these things. So let me turn this thing on, and we'll see how it sounds. Lots of gain on tap. That's the high gain mode, so if I flip it down into low gain, which is what I used in the clean, kind of broken up section in the clip you heard earlier. Still a lot of gain when it's cranked up. But it almost cleans up. And if you roll your guitar volume down, you can actually get a clean tone out of it. So back to high gain. And the EQ, this is so bottom, body, and edge, so that's obviously its bass, middle, and treble. I'll talk about this shift. This works with the mids, so I'll get to that in a second. So let's check the bass. Lots of bass. These EQs are really powerful. Huge scoop. hear how it's starting to get gnarly already with the mids? It gets really thick and nasty. But that's just because it's such a huge boost. It's really, really pushing. Let me do the... The boost on this is a little bit weird. It gets actually a little bit... It's sort of more of an upper mid kind of boost rather than a traditional sounding treble boost on an amp. You hear that? It's kind of a weird frequency actually. There's a bright switch here, which really doesn't do much. It was on the original amp's clean channel, and Tim left it on the pedal, and it's very subtle. It just adds a little bit of extra sparkle to the high end. Typically I leave it off for high gain sounds. So let's go back to the mids here. So this shift button, it was a button on the amp. The shift switch introduces a how does it work? It's either like a giant hump or a giant notch in the mids, and then you can kind of sweep it around. And I think it switches, it sort of inverts as you go up or down. I don't know how it works. It's kind of, you'll just whatever, listen to it. In the 0 position, when you flip it, you won't hear any change because there's no mids being added or cut to the sound, right? So there's nothing going on. You only hear it once you've started cutting or boosting. So that's standard. And now if I flip it, so a big shift. And if I go the other way, check this out. So this is what I was going to show you. If I crank both of these up, hit this shift, check the... Forgetting how to play these riffs. Kind of fun. Real messy, gross tone. Okay, so pre obviously is the preamp gain. I mentioned that. And post is on the original amps, just was the volume control, but we have a master on here as well, and the reason for that is because when Tim was putting this pedal together, he found that the circuit in the original amps, this post control added some how do you say it, it affected the quality and the EQ of the tone. Like the quality of the gain kind of changes. As you have it down low, the gain is kind of more saturated, more compressed sounding, and as you crank it up, to me, I don't know if this is what they were doing, but to me it sounds like the circuit is trying to emulate the sound of a power tube distortion. Like if you have an old tube amp and you dime the master volume and you get those tubes cooking, you get that thickness in the mids, the gain kind of gets grainy sounding and more open sounding, I guess. And to me it sounds like that's what they were doing, which is interesting for a circuit from the early 90s, but let me show you what I mean. So you have to really balance these two then. If the post is low, you have to have the master cranked. If the post is high, you got to turn the master down so that you're not so that you're having a good signal. So let's start with it low. So if you listen to the distortion, And now when I turn this up, hear that difference? The mids are so thick. It's grainier sounding. Let me turn it down again so you can hear the difference. Cranked up one more time. Looser sounding, thicker sounding, just adds an interesting variation in the tones that you can get out of this pedal. So with those active EQs and this post, there's really a lot of different sounds. Just like with any amp, I often like to put a tube screamer type of boost in front of it, and this one's no exception. It just tightens things up a little bit. So if you listen here without, and you can turn the preamp gain down a little bit too for some extra chunk. Yep, that's about it. It's a killer pedal. Definitely recommend it. What am I doing? That's the right one. Sorry.